The guy that I have been seeing for the past 2 months decided to stop seeing me, and he said he got the ick from something so crazy. I don't know how to process. I don't. So again, we have been going out for 2 months. This happened last week. He was staying over at my place. I cannot stress enough how much of a normal girl I am, by the way. I can't be more basic. He was staying over in my room, and I was in the bathroom, and I came back, and I noticed that he was kind of like wandering around, peeking into my drawers, and he opened up the drawer full of my bird beaks, and he looked like seriously concerned. I'm like already confused because he had sisters, so I don't know why he's confused. And he asked me, he's like, "Are these bird beaks?" And I go, yeah. And then he goes, "Did you kill birds?" So now this man is accusing me of killing birds. I'm like, no, I got them off of the dead birds on the side of the road, like every other woman in this country does. And he's like, why do you need bird beaks? And I'm like, for my spells. I need the bird beaks for my spells. Now this man looks visibly scared, like he's kind of backing up into a corner. And he's like, "What kind of spells are you casting?" And I'm like, "Just normal girl spells. Like, I haven't casted any recently, but the last time I did was a couple months ago because this guy on the bus came up to me and was like being all creepy and weird and tried to touch me. So then when I went home, I cast a spell on him for eternal suffering." And now he is looking like incredibly scared. And I'm like, what do you think women do? What do you think women do all day? Cook, clean? No. We are collecting bird beaks and casting spells. And I'm trying to stay calm, but really, he's like super accusatory and looking at me like I'm some crazy person when I'm not. I'm a normal girl. I'm normal. And to add icing onto the fucking cake, he tries to leave my room and leave this apartment, but he opens up my closet instead of my door because they look very similar. They're kind of seated right next to each other. And of course, all of my rat tails come spilling out. And he looks disgusted by it. He's like, "Oh, what is that?" And at this point, I don't understand. I don't understand because he had sisters, and am I supposed to feel shame about my rat tails in my closet just because they aren't organized the way your family did it? What are you setting women back fucking 70 years now? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And at this point, I am just I'm trying so hard not to flip my shit. I am. I'm sorry. I'm trying not so. I'm trying. I'm trying to be cool. But then this man says, "I have to go." And he leaves pretty abruptly. And then I get a text about 24 hours later saying, "Hey, I don't think we can continue this relationship. I'm just not feeling it. I kind of got the ick last night." And girls, honestly, come into the comments and please just let me know if I'm crazy. Am I crazy? Because I really don't think I am. But God, I must be, because this guy was being so weird about just about stuff that shouldn't be shamed anymore. I don't know. I'm just feeling kind of defeated today. Is love really out there even? I don't know. And let me know in the comments what spells you have. I don't know. For this guy. I'm so over it.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 25 and verse 19. It reads, "All wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her." Shalom, shalom, Akim. Call Allah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Bachakodash. Double honor to the elders and apostles of the great millstone, Haru and Teachvah. Peace, blessings, salutations unto the hopeful elect who believe in truth and sincerity. Who are listening in truth and sincerity. Alright, the brother Gabari Allah with another lesson. Alright, and Salaki for the lengthy intro. But you know, I put this clip in there, okay, with a woman pretty much talking about casting spells on this individual. Okay. Now, uh a lot of the comments or whatever are saying that it's satire or whatever the case may be. You know, like that old saying goes, there's in every joke there's a little truth to it, or how it how. But pretty much these are certain things that are actually happening. Okay. And she looks like a pretty woman or whatever. I don't necessarily find her attractive, but I know certain individuals, would find her attractive. All right. But she even said she called herself. She said that she's a fairly normal woman, or she said she couldn't be more basic, or she couldn't be more normal. Okay. Now, this is a PSA to brothers, okay? Because I know, brothers love to, you know, fool around and stuff, with women. Uh, Very stark reminder, man. Okay, that a lot of women are into this fucking witchcraft shit. You know, it's and they're good at hiding it, man. I mean, really. If this dude wasn't snooping around, okay, he he wouldn't have found the bird beaks and the damn rat tails or whatever that she had. All right, that's the behavior of a witch, man. Okay, and she has red eyes and she looked like she was crying or whatever. Okay, but it's these women, some of these women are very, into this witchcraft shit, heavy into this witchcraft shit. That's why a lot of times, you know, um, you'll see that some women actually, when they make spaghetti, they'll put their period blood in some, and that's an actual thing that happens, that's an actual spell that some, wicked women do, which obviously not all women are like that, of course, but you have to be very circumspect, okay? And you can't let the beauty of a woman blind you. All right, so this is the book of Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, otherwise known as Sirach, chapter 25. Okay, I'm gonna start at verse. I'm gonna start at verse 12. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love, and faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. Okay, now when you fear the Lord, you're gonna be moving with wisdom. Okay, you're gonna be moving with how the Bible tells you to move, like, okay, in the best way you possibly can. Okay, it says, verse 13, give me any plague but the plague of the heart or mind, and any wickedness but the wickedness of a woman. Okay, because the wickedness of a woman is far exceeding above any man or any creature on the planet. Okay, the woman is the one who, you know, will have unprotected sex or whatever, and then get abortions. Okay, especially Eve. Eve got the highest abortion rates in the world. You know, they'll do shit. You know, this whole society is catered towards women. Okay, that's why when they divorce a man for whatever reason, if she doesn't sign a prenup, which then they get all offended when you propose a prenup because that's all they want. They want, to take all your goods, man. You know, so for whatever reason, a woman gets half of your things once you divorce her. Well, that's not what the ancient world says. In fact, in the ancient world, in the time of old, okay, a woman was fearful if a man were to divorce her. Why? Because then she would be left with no husband at all, because you couldn't remarry unless that the husband was killed, you know. But in this society, women, cheating, they cheat and shit, they do things, and this whole society is all catered towards women. You have these stupid ass Jake, or not even Jake, just men, so-called men, who let all this shit fly. That's why they have such a high powerful level, because a lot of these men aren't really men nowadays. All right, it says, and any affliction but the affliction of them that hate me, and any revenge but the revenge of enemies. There is no head above the head of a serpent, and there is no wrath above the wrath of an enemy. I had rather dwell with a lion and a dragon than to keep house with a wicked woman. Right? Okay, it is better. It's better to dwell with a lion and a dragon. Okay, than to keep house with a wicked woman. All right, and a wicked woman is that, you know, it says right here, verse 17, the wickedness of a woman changeth her face, and darkeneth her countenance like sackcloth. Right, man, and this is very accurate. Okay, when you see when you see the demons come out of these women, you see the way they start crying and shit, they start laughing and shit. Like, yo, there was some scary encounters, man. They'll start laughing. I've been through some certain encounters where I'm like, yo, what the fuck wrong with it? There's humor in it, but at the same time, it's very scary, because you see the way their face changes and shit, you know, mascara out out the eyes, and they start crying, and then they'll start getting angry, and then, all this shit going on, man. You're like, what the fuck going on here, man? You know, and I know brothers have certain encounters like that. Okay, that's why people get knives pulled on them and shit. Okay, all of this is because the wickedness of a woman. It says, her husband shall sit among his neighbors, and when he hear it, shall sigh bitterly. All wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her, right? Okay, all wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Okay, because like the scriptures say, let me grab it real quick. All right. Uh, actually, I think it's. Let me see. Yeah, it's yeah, it's actually lower. It's lower in this. Yeah, it's lower here. Sirach 25. Okay, so I'll just keep reading till I get to it. But it says, um, verse 20, as the climbing up a sandy way is the feet of the aged, so is a wife full of words to a quiet man. Okay, I'm gonna read that again. As the climbing up a sandy way is to the feet of the aged, so is a wife full of words to a quiet man. Right? Okay, because it is drowning. It's, with a man, with aged feet, he can't move properly on a sandy way. Okay, it's hard to climb up that. So it's hard to deal with a wife who's always bickering. Okay, stumble not at the beauty of a woman and desire her not for pleasure. Right? Because you have a lot of people who desire women for pleasure, and a lot of Jake who get lustful and shit and just want to pop a woman. You just don't, you want to do shit, well, you got to really take into account what the hell you're doing with, because that woman could do all crazy shit like this individual in the video, and she's not the only one, man. Okay, I can guarantee that. Okay, a lot of this happens, frequently. Okay, there's a lot of different stories about shit like this, man. Okay, next thing you know, you pop her, now you got demons on you. What the fuck going on with me? You start having thoughts and shit you never had. Okay, whole time she was casting spell on your ass, man. So be very careful, be circumspect on who you let, don't just be sticking your rod into any woman, man. Okay. It says, a woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach, right? Because a lot of women don't want to maintain their husband. Okay, um, in the sense of being, a woman to a husband. Here it is, a man could come home from a long ass day of work, okay? You fucking back hurts and shit, and now you gotta deal with a woman. That's why the scriptures say that, if you don't have a wife, don't seek one. Because really a lot of the things that a man could do by himself, okay? Because to be quite frank, men don't need women. You know, we can defend ourselves, we can do things. We don't need women per se, but this whole fucking agenda is all upside down, and now all of a sudden the woman is the prize. Like, nah, man. That's not how it was in the ancient days, and that's not how it's gonna be in the kingdom. It's gonna be rightful order. You know, it says, "A wicked woman abateth the courage, maketh an heavy countenance and a wounded heart. A woman that will not comfort her husband in distress maketh weak hands and feeble knees." Right, man? Because here it is, you already stressed and shit. You already dealing with this world, and now you gotta get home to a woman who fucking stress you out even more. That's why a lot of brothers they don't even say, my woman. A lot of brothers say my demon. Oh, I gotta deal with this demon at home. You know, because it's a lot of the times that's what it is, man. You just gotta deal with some like shit. Here it is, you coming home from work. You know what I'm saying? You wanna you wanna have some food, at least something ready. Ain't shit ready. The house messy. You know, you gotta cook your own fucking food. Like, what the hell do you do for me? You know, if I wanted a pet, I would have got a fucking cat or a dog. What the hell you do for me, man? But a lot of people, a lot of men are content with just the box. You know, a lot of men are just content with just the box. You ain't gotta give me nothing but the box. Okay? It's funny, but it's not funny, man, because like you start to really realize a lot of men ain't fucking, they ain't men, man. Here's the point that I wanted to grab earlier, verse 24. Of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. Right, man? Because if you remember, I'll actually grab it. Adam wasn't deceived, it was Eve that was deceived. Okay? I'll actually grab that. um, Slocky, bear with me. Uh, con. First Timothy 2:13, point is at verse 14. For Adam was first formed, then Eve, and Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. Right, man. Okay, that's why through her we all die, you know, because Eve was the one who got deceived by the serpent, and then she deceived Adam. Okay, she straight up lied to Adam. Okay, it says, "Give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to gad abroad. If she go not as thou wouldest have her, cut her off from thy flesh, and give her a bill of divorce, and let her go." Right, man, and this would carry a lot of weight in the ancient days, but here it don't mean shit. In fact, here a lot of women secretly hope that they get divorced, because then now you stuck paying child support. Now you stuck, doing this, doing that. Now you stuck giving her half your whole fucking life's work, you know? But, the wickedness of a woman, man, you can't be out here just, what I mean, here it is, she's a whole witch, okay? Here it is, she's a whole witch, and you sticking your rod in a whole witch. You don't know what the fuck is gonna happen, man. You don't know what fucking demon she got in her, you know? It says, uh, Exodus 22, um, I'll just get straight to the point. Verse 18, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Whosoever lies with the beast shall surely be put to death." Okay, and that's, speaking of, um, what is the word? You know, damn, I forget what the word is. Bestiality. There you go. Okay, but hey, A witch is just as bad, man. You know, you shouldn't be sleeping with these witchcrafts. Okay, you next thing you know, you got fucking demons on you, man. You gotta be very careful. Don't just be sticking your rod. Don't be thinking with your dick, man. All right. A lot of men think with their dick. Nah, man. That's why a lot of men get trapped in certain situations. That's why you see, you know, I be listening to some stories on this dude named Mr. Nightmare. Okay, while I'm studying and shit, physics studying, and he'll have, certain topics, and one of the topics is, Tinder. And a lot of men start thinking with their dick, and they start, trying to lay one out, and then next thing you know, it's a whole ass man trying to get at them, and now they stuck in a predicament, man. Now they're getting chased by this fucking random group of men because they're thinking unwisely, man. But we shouldn't be thinking like that. Ephesians 5 and 15, seeing that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. You have to be paying attention, man. Redeeming the time because the days are evil, right? The days are evil. Okay, there's gonna be sorcerers and there's gonna be witchcrafts. There's gonna be individuals that mean you harm, man. Okay, and being a man of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is to see all these things, man. Before, wherefore be ye not unwise, but understand what the will of the Lord is. And be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit, speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, right in your mind. You got to think about the Lord, and in everything you do, think about Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. You know, so just be very careful with who you're dealing with, man. Okay, because it is a very dangerous uh place to be caught in. Okay, you don't want to be nah, man. Think think wise, walk circumspectly, man. So just a quick lesson, to get brothers, just a quick PSA again. I thought this would have, I seen this on TikTok and I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Okay, because this is wicked, man. So, Lord willing, it be edifying. Call Allah Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua by Hashem Rachakodash. The honor yet again to the elders and apostles of the great millstone who run teach all. Peace, blessings, salutations to the hopeful leg walk to our listening.